Welcome to the House Files, a show about building a triplex in Portland, Oregon. This is going to be a long episode. I will just tell you that in advance. The goal of today's episode is to walk through all 3 units. We are at the tail end of the rough-in stage, so we're going to walk through all 3 units and document every single thing that's in the walls before we start closing up the walls. I'm partly doing this for you. I'm mostly doing it for me because I want to be able to look back at later in the future once there's drywall up and we don't get to see the shell and know where all the wires are so I don't poke through anything accidentally, and also so if I want to add something later, I know where I can find the things that are inside the walls. So here we go. We're going to start at the entryway of Unit C, which is our unit. Going to go from the ground floor all the way up the stairs to the top roof. Look inside all the walls, show you where every outlet is. I'm going to explain what every wire and pipe is for. Then we're going to move over to units A and B, the lower units, and do the same thing there. So here we go. So we are going to start this on the outside. This is the front door to the house, and these wires are for the intercom system for the door. This is a Cat 6 cable, and this one is a 2-conductor wire. Don't actually need this one right now, but I put it in there anyway, just because it's hard to add these later. Cat 6 cable is going to connect to this outdoor intercom system. So let's go inside. On the other side of this, those are poking through the wall right here, and they run into this box down here with all the low voltage stuff. This low voltage box will eventually contain the controller, part of the controller for the door system. I also ran more cables than I needed to in here, but better to have too many than too little. This is the actual latch for the door. This is now installed in the door frame. This is the electronic latch, 12 volts. I need to still connect these wires to here before we close this up, so that's happening right after I film this. This is a separate wire that runs into this low voltage box for powering this relay. So when the door controller wants to unlock the door, it just applies 12 volts to that. That releases, and then this can flip. Like I said, this is going to be a long video. Down here, we've got a power outlet for the outside, power outlet for the inside. These are connected up to this junction box for the switches. 3 switches. This one, as marked here, controls the outside lights that are in the soffit in the little porch. These control the sconces that are up here. And then this one, we actually added a little bit later. This controls the chandelier, which is all the way at the top up there. So those you can see are fed through that wall. So this wall basically looks like this. We've got low voltage box, power, bunch of switches up there, and then power lines, and then here's my Ethernet runs that go over to the server room, which is up there. Also of note down here, we've got power for the stairs. This is a 3-conductor wire for the motion sensor, so there'll be a motion sensor that lives embedded into the wall here. That's just right on this first step. And then these are low voltage wires for the LED strips that are going to be under the tread. So each step has a little wire connected for the tread for the understair lighting. We're still in the entryway. Let's close that door. Above the door, I've got 2 Ethernet wires. Actually, no. 1 Ethernet wire, 1 is a 2-conductor wire. I had some scraps laying around. I need to do this before we close up the wall. So this is, again, after I film this. I'm going to drill a hole through the door frame here and then run a little magnetic sensor up into that box. That'll connect to the 2-conductor wire, and I'll leave the Ethernet tied up there. Some wires above the door here. We have another power down here. These 2 yellow ones are actually going to the outside, and they're just loose right now. Those are for the landscape lighting. And then that's just power here as well. Behind this, which is that old door for the studio, we've got water pipes that feed the outside, hot and cold to the outside. And again, we've got some more power that runs up to that corner. I mentioned we have sconce lighting. So we have 1, 2, 3 sconce lights in the entryway. Those are all in the same circuit. And then looking up, you can see the red wire that goes all the way to the top of both window frames, and it's coiled up there. It's way more than is needed up there. Those are for the power shades. So eventually the shades are going to be run off of powered so we can drop the shades remotely. Those red lines, there's 2 there and there's 2 up on the right side of those windows as well. Those red wires, these 2, you can see they're running down here and they go into that hole, which is right next to the server closet. We'll come back to that in a minute. The other 2 make a much more roundabout trip. They go around there and then into the office and run a long way around there. Last thing in the entryway is this camera. This is for the front door camera. There's just a little Ethernet jack poking out of the wall. It does not get a box, so the camera will get mounted directly to that plywood or the drywall, and the Ethernet wire will run right into the camera. And that's just so we get a front door view. So I think that covers the entryway. I guess this is technically in the entryway. Last little bit of lighting, stair lighting. These are going to be wood slats that we have now drawn the plans for. Wood slats that go all the way up to the top there. And this is for an LED strip that sits at the bottom of the slats. This will be a piece of wood here, and then this will be kind of embedded in that. It'll be a little LED strip channel that goes all the way across, making a nice glow up. That gets drywall. And then you can see the stair lighting as well, and then the last motion sensor for the top of the stairs. So that's the entryway. Moving on to Lily's office. Let's take a couple more steps up. And we're going to walk into Lily's office here. I guess this is also technically in the entryway. Switches in for the stairs here. These are 2-way switch for the sconce lights, so you can turn the sconce lights on and off from up here. This says 3-way to landing and sconce up landing. Right, it's this light right here, as well as that sconce that's at the top up there. Okay, now we're actually moving into Lily's office. So here we go. Let's start here at the front. 3 switches for her office. These 3 switches, they just run right up there. 1 switch is for the sconce in her office. Another is for the can lights in her office. So that's these 4 cans. And the 3rd switch is for the chandelier that's going to get hung in that box right above the window. So that's for this arch window. These the sconce lights, you can see they're all connected into here. They feeds into there, and then that one goes over to this one and feeds that one. We have another switch in the office. This is for the closet lights. So this goes up there and then comes out here, and you can see we just left it loose. Actually don't know why there's not a box there, but I guess because the light's going to get attached directly to the drywall. Okay. Above the door, this is something unique to this unit. Every door in this unit has these 2 Ethernet wires above the door. One is for the contact sensor that will be a magnetic sensor for the door frame. The other is just for TBD. I might put a microcontroller up there of some sort. It might be a temperature sensor. But again, if you're running 1 wire, might as well run 2 because it doesn't take that much extra work. Down on this wall, we have first outlet of the room. Enters the room from this yellow wire, it looks like. Yeah, it's coming from up there. Actually, I don't know if that's in or out, but that's where it starts here. And then these outlets are all chained together. So this outlet, middle of that wall, to that corner, that outlet, these are all on the same circuit. And this continues around, goes around the room to the slightly raised outlet by the bench seating here. Makes a trip above the window and around because I believe that one feeds into that box. And it continues on. I think it actually goes into the bathroom. There is 1 extra outlet that's on its own circuit here. And that's this outlet behind, which will be behind this bookcase. We have power and data. This will be inside of one of the bookcase. And this is a dedicated circuit just for the laser printer that's going to go into this closet. You can see there's a lot of Ethernet runs in this wall as well. So back to that first outlet, we've got a low voltage box for Ethernet here, which run up along there and go around the room. Got another Ethernet box there, and I actually just did this a second ago. I ran these pre-terminated SDI cables because I had them extra in my studio that I didn't need. These are going to come out this box as well. I'm actually going to put a little junction in there, so this will get mounted behind there. But that's for a video feed that goes from here along the wall there, and this drops into the network room that's outside. I'm going to fill that with insulation today once that comes. Those are power cords that go into that room as well. The other thing in the wall that's really important to note is all these pipes. So the mini split is going to be above this dumbwaiter box. It's the indoor unit for the mini split. And we've got the drain pipe for it. So that goes along the side here, all along this wall. You can see they put these metal plates to make it so that you can't accidentally screw through it when you're finding the studs, but this is still extremely close to the drywall. So this is got to make sure we don't ever drill through that. It's on a slight slope down all the way around there, and then that makes its way down there to the outside. These are also the lines for all of the refrigerant for all the mini splits. So thankfully there's going to be a bookcase here, so we're never really going to run the risk of drilling through those as long as the bookcase gets installed properly and does not get drilled through when they're doing that. Big metal plate up at the top for those as well. So those are the 4 or 8 lines, 2 for each mini split that go and feed the mini splits of the whole unit. Other things in the walls, a big cluster of data cables. Some of these are from the entryway, and they all make a trip here and then go into the ceiling. Up there you can see it goes around and then it goes over here, because this is the best way to get into that mechanical room under the stairs, which is weirdly outside of this unit. And you go outside there into the other unit, which I'll just sneak peek in over here. That big cluster comes up there, goes around here, and feeds into this big mass of wires, which then enters the under the stairs place right here. And I guess that was easier because this way we're not going through any major beams, because there's actually a really big beam. You can see it was orange, and they didn't want to punch through that. So, okay, that's the office. Other thing in the office that's important is the water heater for this unit. So in this closet, there's power and data up there, just in case I want to shove anything up there. And then on the other side of the closet is the water heater. So there's the cold water in, and then this is where the hot water starts in this unit. And each of the water heaters, one for each unit, they get these 3 massive wires. It's like 120 amps total. And there is a sprinkler head here, and there's a sprinkler head there. Oh, we also put a ceiling outlet in, because I figured, why not? Well, use this for live streaming, so we may want to be able to hang a light from the ceiling or something, so there's a ceiling outlet right up there. There should be a smoke detector here as well, yeah. So the smoke detector is by the door. And I think that's all of the boxes and wires in this room. Moving on to the bathroom. So this is the bathroom for the this floor. There's switches, can lights for the ceiling, fan, and the vanity. So 3 switches for the bathroom. Corner shower, toilets over there, sinks over here. The plumbing, they just reconfigured this plumbing to go and free up the space here, but they couldn't move that down below because there's too much woods and beams and stuff under there. So don't know how we're going to box that in, but we'll figure it out. And then we get a floating vanity. There is, this is the litter box, so the drawer for the litter box will slide out into the bathroom this way. Inside the litter box, there's actually an outlet and a Cat 6 cable. The Cat 6 cable is for a camera, so I can have a camera in the litter box so we can keep an eye on it. Then we've got power for the sink, light for the vanity mirror, plumbing for the shower and toilets, which now is hopefully centered in that. They had done that wrong before. I'm glad I caught that. That's why they punched through all the wood here. We've got a fan and venting out to the outside there. 1 can light up here. Again, we've got the Ethernet wires above the door over here because I can. That's really the only reason. Okay, let's move into the stairwell. So here is a switch which controls the lights inside of this kind of closet. This is a under the stairs closet, And this is the other side of the litter box area. I put an outlet down there facing the space here. There's also an outlet here. This is a little ledge, which I think what we're going to do is end up putting like a table at standing height here so that you can put a computer down and use it for like calls or whatever. But there's Ethernet and power for that. This door, of course, also gets its 2 Ethernet wires, one for a contact sensor. There's a sprinkler head in here. I guess that was required. There's also a single can light in here. And then this is the underside of the stairs. You can see where we're getting all these masses of wires coming down for all the stair lighting down into here. They all run through this second bay here into this little box that goes into the under the stairs space there. So that's all, of course, going to be drywalled. There's switches here. This is a switch for the step and stair lighting, which are separately switched. The transformers are going to live on the other side of this piece of wood. And then these switches are, one of them is for the can light that's under here, and I'm not actually sure what the other one is. Maybe it's that fan. I bet it's that fan. So this is for all this under the stairs. Under the stairs, this is like the server room, basically. Here we have a big mass of wires coming in from the other side of that wall. This is basically all of the network wires coming in from the rest of our unit coming in here. These are the power lines for the shades, the red ones. The black ones are the ones that I added. They're actually for the microphones in the ceilings. And the rest of these are Cat 6 or coax. And they all run down there, make that bend, and come out that box or the other box. As far as power down here, there's one outlet in that corner. That's off of the lighting circuit for the stairs. So there's actually not much on there except the stair lighting. So it's pretty low capacity already. And then that outlet, it's a dedicated 20 amp circuit for the servers. So that's the only thing on that circuit coming from the box, and that's so I can plug in all the servers, which are going to live down here. Making this bend to go all the way around. You can see the plan is for this to be where all the lighting controls live. So we've got the transformers for the toe kick lighting, the stair lighting, the motion sensor lines come down here as well, and then I'm going to end up doing all this wiring, a ton of wiring, to connect these to the little controller boards that do all the individual step control. And this should be getting drywall underneath, so we won't see any of that anymore. The other thing to note here, so these are the notes for the low voltage guy. The purple stripe is the low voltage notes. This is the kind of home base of all the cables from Unit C. For the rest of the unit, they all terminate here. There are 2 wires that go from here to the network closet. One is a Cat 6 and one is a coax. That's TV and data to the mechanical, which is that space outside Lily's office on the outside. But all the switches and stuff for this unit are all going to live in this closet, which is why there's a fan. There's also a sprinkler head in here, which I guess is good because there's going to be a lot of power running through here. I think we're done with this floor, so we're going to move up a floor. Did I get everything? There's a sprinkler head in the entryway next to that can light, and we're going to go up. So again, each step has its own power cord for the low voltage LED strip. There's a cord for the motion sensor for this, so stepping on the first step will trigger the animation as we go up. A couple of the power lines for the stair lighting, these yellow ones. These are 2 Cat 6 cables that go up to the roof, I think. Power for the sconce, and we've got a sprinkler head in this stairwell, which got built over with a box, and now I don't know how we're going to change that, but that needs to get fixed. Couple loose ends here. Moving on, we've got power for all the lights, another motion sensor at the top here. This is interesting. Oh, that's the top step strip, right? And we've got 2 switches when you come up to the stairs. This is one of the reasons I wanted the half wall here. Otherwise, there's no spot for a switch. One switch is for the stair lighting, the sconce, and the other one is, I believe, upstairs, right? Because there's 2. When you're here, there's a staircase going down and a staircase going up. So one of the switches is for the downstairs and one is for the upstairs. I think that's how that works. Now I'm not totally sure about that. Okay, because over here, there's also 2 switches on the other side. One of them must be for the kitchen. 3-way for the cans, yeah, that's for the kitchen can lighting. And that has to be for the stairway going up. Well, we'll find out. Okay, gotta do this methodically before I get too distracted. Okay, so we just did the low voltage lighting coming up from the stairs. The other low voltage up here, wow, the sun is really harsh right now. There's this wire coming out here, and there's also one up there, because there's going to be, again, slats here and here, which are going to get a strip down there and a strip up at the top. So that's part of the staircase lighting. Over here is a switch for the living room. There's can lights in the living room as well as rope lights. The rope light is actually powered by that loose wire up here, which will tie into rope light that goes all the way around on the inside after things get finished off. Living room. Living room lighting. We've got a living room outlet here, outlet there. Got some of the wires running through this half wall for the lighting. Got a sprinkler pipe here. We've got a Cat 6 cable, single Cat 6 cable in that corner. This is gonna be a couch, but you never know. And then the outlets continue around this room, going here, here, every 6 feet or so. There should be one in this corner. And then we get to the shear wall where we're gonna put the TV and the Vesta board. So the Vesta board goes up on that, on the top half. The TV will be down on a little stand down here. I think there was a little bit of miscommunication here. We ended up with more than we really need because this is the power and data and coax for the TV. So one of these is actually coax, and 3 are data, 1 is coax for the TV. And then we also have coax and data down there. Not entirely sure how the sequence of events occurred that caused that to happen. I think originally because the low voltage guy wanted to put, he normally does TV mounting up high. And I was like, no, we're gonna have our TV down low. So at that point, it made sense to have one up high and one down there, but now it doesn't make sense to have those two so close, but oh well, the wires are already there, so too late now. One more outlet over there. The Vesta board gets its own power and its own network connection as well. There's a little wire in this bay that goes, actually a cluster of wires that go down. These black wires, those are the wires I added for the microphones. So if you follow those up, they go up here, along here, they go along that. One makes a stop in the center of the living room. They continue on over here. One makes a stop above the dining room. And then it continues on and goes along that, inside that soffit up to the center of the kitchen. Those are all going to be in-ceiling microphones that are tied to the voice assistant that's running in the house so that the house can hear us wherever we are without having to shout across the house. So those are the black wires. There are ceiling speakers in the living room. Those are these two zigzaggy wires. So the ceiling speakers are going to go one at that side, one at this side, and those will be mounted into the ceiling. Those wires run down into the network closet as well. 4 can lights. I believe that one is a smoke detector. Pretty sure that's what that is. 4 can lights, mini split up there, power, drain, refrigerant. We have the bookshelf here, which has, so it's 3 segments, 3 bookshelves put together. Each one has a power wire that goes into it for lighting inside the bookcase. Down at the bottom, we've got power and data that'll live inside the bookcase as well. You can see our skeleton friend is hanging out in the bathroom on the other side of that wall. Last kind of part of the living room is this side of the bookcase, which will be this kind of side wall. This is where a lot of the Ethernet for the house goes down. So that's a notable cluster of wires here. Switches, I believe this is living room cans, and I think the other one is for the wet bar area. Gosh, I wish I'd labeled those better already. Above the switches will live, this is the template for the mounting bracket for the door intercom system. So the front door lock and intercom is connected to this system. These are all Cat6 powered, so these are all basically just Cat6 wires home run into that network closet. And Cat6 is data and power for this box. Above this box is loose wires right now because we're gonna put like a screen up here, kind of like a monitor, and it'll be like the dashboard for the house. So I wanted to, have the option of either PoE for a screen, if we have that, or hardwire for a screen, or just hardwired internet up there instead of Wi-Fi. So again, this is all easy to do now and almost impossible to do later, so might as well. The living room ceiling is a lot. So this is a lot of the wires are just loosely draped. I wish they had done a little bit better job, like making these follow some sort of path that's organized, but we're not gonna see it anyway. So up in the ceiling, we've got a lot of the wiring for the house. 4 can lights, a sprinkler head in the middle of the room. That corner is a camera. So that blue wire is for a camera that's gonna go up in the ceiling. And shades. So I wanted to be able to have power shades on all the south-facing walls. So one of these red wires is for the shade control. And that means we can drop this automatically. For example, right now when the sun is blaring in this and making it really hard to film. Speaker wires are the white ones up there and there. That ceiling low voltage box is for a access point, wireless access point. That'll cover most of this floor. And I think that's the living room. So, moving on to the kitchen. First, this is the wet bar. So the wet bar is this counter, this one wall. It has a counter and upper cabinets and lower cabinets. On the left side is a fridge. So there is a power outlet for the mini fridge. It's like a under cabinet mini fridge. We've got switches, which should be all for the wet bar here. Cans, cabinet lighting, and now I don't know what the third one is. Third one might just be power. I'm not totally sure. Switch, 2 for cans, switch, wafers. Yeah, not sure. Can't wait to see what happens. So for the wet bar area, we have 2 can lights above it, here and here on the left and right. Oh, it's the cabinet lighting. So there's a line that's loose there that is going to be inside the cabinets. That's for the inside interior cabinet lighting. And then one of them also runs down to this panel, which will be, I guess, under the sink. That is where the transformer is going to get mounted for the low voltage lighting. So this is the low voltage wire that goes up to this corner, which is going to feed the under cabinet lighting. Outlet behind the counter, sink here, hot and cold, drain, which now is also a vent upstairs, another power outlet on the other side of the sink, and then this area will actually be an appliance garage, so this will be covered, and we have 2 Cat6 power and also water. I had them add that water at the last minute because I was like, the bathroom pipes are right there, and it'd be nice if we ever wanted to do like a hard-wired, plumbed-in espresso machine or something. The water's right there. Let's just put in the valve for it because it was like, a 4-foot piece of pipe. And again, this is one of those things that like, do it now because getting into that wall after the cabinets are in and the bathtub's in on the other side is just going to be impossible. So now that's in there, I'm happy. Moving over here. This is where a lot of the home runs go for power, drain network. A lot of these things are on this wall. It's to the right of the bar cabinets. There's going to be bench seating there, so you really will never have any reason to like touch that wall at all, which is good. So that's all the beefy power for, I think that's actually for the, I'm not sure whose water heater that's for. Oh, that's ours. So those 3 big black wires go up there. And then our electrical panel is where all of those wires are going in. And you see the big gray wire feeding everything. So that's the electrical panel up there on the roof. So most of our electrical lines or all of our electrical lines are coming out of there and then come around here and then go feed the rest of the house down that way. We have a new drainage vent situation going on up here. They had to change that after the inspector came because apparently you're not allowed to do the interior intake in the venting system in this kind of building. So now those are all up there inside that soffit, luckily. We also have a camera. That blue wire is going to be for a camera that is going to be mounted to that side of that soffit. That's just to look at the inside of the house here. So that's the wet bar. We've got lighting. Oh, and there is a sprinkler head right up there, and then there's a microphone, which is kind of the dining area microphone. The box up here is the chandelier over the dining table. So wet bar there, dining area here. This is, again, bench seating along the wall, so there'll be a dining room table here, which with chairs on the other side. We've got our soffit up there, which is where you can see all the coolant lines for the mini split. They all came from Lily's office downstairs up there, go up and make a turn inside that soffit. So that's why we had to add the soffit, which then was conveniently a place to add that drainage line or the ventilation line. So they all make a bend up there and go to the other rooms over there. So into the kitchen. This starting with the fridge. The fridge is right here. So actually cabinets first, one cabinet, and then the fridge. So that is the water intake for the fridge, or water out for the fridge. Fridge sits there, there's a plug for it there. These little coiled up wires are low voltage for the toe kick lighting. That's the edge of the cabinets. You can see the hot and cold pipes. I believe those pipes actually are, so those go up to the roof. So they actually come off of the back of the kitchen sink back there. They go down, run in the ceiling through here and come up there. And then they go up to, in this bay, up and make a turn up behind that light fixture and go up to feed the roof. The roof has hot and cold water. I had them do that way because then we get shut-off valves for the roof behind here. This is not done yet, so they're gonna have to do this later. But what they're gonna do is they're gonna reconfigure these under the kitchen sink. So under the kitchen sink, the water comes up for the kitchen sink, but then also goes out to the roof. And they're gonna reconfigure this to have drainage valves so that we can shut off the roof water and open it up to drain to the outside. So in the winter, when it's gonna freeze like it has now for the last couple of days, we can just drain the roof water to the outside, and there won't be any water up in the roof. So fridge, that's where the pipes to the roof, fridge. Let me get this board out of the way. Oh, that's not power for the fridge. That one's power for the fridge. Those are the little cluster of, that's where the transformer for the low voltage lighting is gonna go. How does it get power? This is all interesting. So that's all low voltage wires in that box. So where does the power come from? I'm not sure what happened to that, because I thought that the power for that was all under the kitchen sink. So these are the power, and then these feed the low voltage system in the kitchen, which is toe kick lighting, under cabinet, and over cabinet lighting. So this one goes along that line, and then you can see, one of them is here to feed this row of cabinets, one's over here to feed that row, and then they go along here. And maybe it's just a junction box for those connections. I think that's probably what it is. So yeah, so that cluster for the toe kick lighting comes over here and goes down. It ends in that box for the toe kick. This one's for the toe kick after the fridge. And then, so those meet in there. And we've got under cabinet, I think does the same thing. So there's under cabinet lighting. Now that goes all the way over. So what are all, I guess one is feeding. Well, the electrician knows what's going on here, so hope it works. Here's one that goes to the upper cabinet lighting. So there's the upper cabinet wire, and that one does go that direction. So that's feeding some of the upper cabinet lighting. Yeah, so that's what those two are. That wire end up down there in that box. So I guess the idea is the transformers are over there. The transformer sends one for the upper cabinet to that box sends it on to the others. I guess that works. Okay. Maybe that was easier than running them all to under the kitchen sink. So low voltage lighting has under the toe kick, under the cabinet, above the cabinet. And then because there's like things in the way, like the vent and the fridge, they had to have multiple ranges of it. What else is on behind this wall in the kitchen? A lot of wires that we're never gonna see because the upper cabinets are gonna block it. Outlets, both sides of the stove. That's the big wire for the range. All the pipes, the refrigerant lines for the mini splits, soffit. I had them add a power and network wire up there, which will be above the upper cabinets. Because again, if I want to shove gear up there for whatever reason, now it's out of the way and they can live above the upper cabinets. And then we've got power there, switches and power, and then power. The kitchen sink's going to be here-ish. I guess it's actually going to be like pretty wide, so probably both of those bays. And then under the dumbwaiter door, we've got a bunch of wires here. More power. The oven is down there, and then this is a little island that's going to come out here. So there's power for the microwave, which will get installed in the cabinet, and that power is for an outlet on the side of the cabinet once that gets installed. The other thing on this wall, again, we talked about the switches already, and then we've got 2 Ethernet wires over there. Dumbwaiter is not done because the dumbwaiter guy only came one day and he didn't come back to finish. There's eventually going to be all these conduits inside this shaft. So he's got the track installed, but up at the top is the motor, and there's wires that need to go all the way down. But what's missing right now is the call buttons. So he didn't realize the kitchen layout when he was here, so he put the call buttons on this side, which is impossible because there's a corner cabinet here. So there is no way you can reach those buttons when you're standing. This is where I'm standing, the corner cabinets are, and I literally can't reach those buttons without like leaning over. So he's gonna have to move the buttons over to this side and put the box for the buttons above the outlet here, which will be fine. And then that'll get a door. Other power in the kitchen is this power wire for the plug mold. So this is our little half wall that's super dangerous, and trying to find a way to make the cats not walk on it and make us not accidentally set things that are going to get knocked over. So I'm thinking we're going to do some sort of piece of trim that's like at an angle so that you literally can't set anything on it. That trim will extend out, and there's going to be, instead of putting power outlets on the back here, which would mean cutting through the counter backsplash as well as this block, we're going to do power strip underneath the molding up here. So this will feed all of the outlets along there. We'll also get more power outlets that way, which will be nice. Kitchen ceiling has 4 can lights and the ceiling microphone in the middle of the room, in the middle of all the cans, and then we have a sprinkler head kind of awkwardly over there. And then the other thing in the kitchen is a speaker. So this little zigzag of wires between the 2 cans is for a speaker. And then the other speaker that's on that circuit is actually all the way over here. So I hope that's okay. Kind of over the dining room, but I guess that makes sense. So there'll be a ceiling speaker up there as well. 6 can lights in the kitchen, and over the entryway, we looked at this from downstairs, but we can take a look up here as well. There's the power for the chandelier with a nice solid mounting bracket and another sprinkler head. Oh, one more wire up here, almost forgot. This is another camera, so this will be a camera for the view of the kitchen this direction. So that wire goes down there, along with those other Cat 6 wires. So that's coiled up there. And I think that's it for the kitchen. Yeah, like I said, this is going to get changed a little bit, so I'll try to do a picture or another video after this is done. The installations guy is coming tomorrow, so hopefully he doesn't get to this too soon, because I still have to redo that. So moving into this next area. So we've got the mini split up here for the kind of main area. This is covering the living room and kitchen. And this little entryway is to the bedroom as well as the karaoke room. So in here there is a light switch for the lighting here. Oh, one of these is actually for the bookshelf lighting, and one of these is living room cans because there's nowhere else in the living room for a switch. And then we've got a drop ceiling. So this, again, the sprinkler head has to move down to be at that bottom stud. We did the drop ceiling so we can mount the mini split there. and have it mounted against a wall. Also, it makes more sense, I think. So, that's there. Above the door, we have a Cat 6 coiled up. I wanted to do the door magnetic sensor here as well, but because that piece of wood is in the way, I can't, after this is all drywall, I can't actually physically mount the door sensor through here and get it into that box. So what I did was I ran the other Cat 6 down here to this low voltage box, which is open, the box backless kind. So my plan for this one is to do the contact sensor here. So I'll drill through this way, which then I can fish the wire through and grab it here and connect it to this. So that's that. And I think that's it for this little space. Up here, we've got that drainage pipe again and the coolant lines. And now we're in the bedroom. So let me walk back this way. So entering the bedroom, swing the door open, and once you open the door, there's switches for the bedroom. There's power below the switches. There is one of these switches controls the rope light, which you can see it's that wire that goes up there to the corner, and that's loose because that's going to get just kind of connected up once we get the little crown molding up there. That's going to go all the way around the room on the inside. Above the bedroom door, we've got 2 Ethernet wires again. So this one I can drill through for the sensor up there and grab the wire and connect it into that box. We've got can lights in the bedroom, 6. So they're all in the same circuit. They're up in the ceiling there. Big scary wire in the bedroom is the solar system. So see that metal conduit with the red stickers. Let me see if I can find it. It goes all the way through up there. It comes down here. So here we go. It's in the bay 1, 2, 3. And this has all of these stickers up in the attic for photovoltaic source, because this, once the solar panels are up there, this is going to have like the scary 50 volt DC or whatever, high power DC coming there before it hits the transformer that's outside to turn it into AC. So that's why that's marked very aggressively on all the parts of it up in the ceiling. And that's the actual junction there, because there's 2 sets of solar panels. Our main wire for the whole house power, so the power comes up, the power's on the outside of the building there, comes up here, and then this is the longest, fattest wire, and it goes all the way through the house, all the way through to the roof electrical panel. So that is where the mains for the house is. Some of these wires are for the other side. That's for the karaoke room. So we've got a lot of power, but this shows us, let's see, where is it? So we got Ethernet and coax feeding into the karaoke room. This is the outside switch for the porch. Up at the top of this, we've got the red wires for the shades. I actually don't know why there's 2. Not sure why there's 2 red wires there. I think there only needs to be 1. And then there's also Ethernet, because that's a door. And there's actually 2 Ethernets. One is going to live up in that box, and the other one comes down above the door. And then I need to do this before we close up the walls. My plan is to run this and tuck it inside of there. And then right now, before we close up, before we get the drywall on, connect this to the contact sensor for this door in the middle here. So I need to do that ASAP, but that's what that wire is for. Up in the ceiling, we've got another red wire for the shades. So power shades on that wall, because that's a west wall, also a bedroom, so we can make it a lot darker in here if we need to. We've got outlets all along the walls, so again, 6 feet, which is more than you need. One on each side of the bed, one inside the closet. And I got 1 coax over here my thought was to be able to put a little access point, in-wall access point over here, because this is really far away from the other one. So I figured if we want good Wi-Fi in the bedroom, we'll do an access point there. And that's all gonna be shelving, bookcase, drawers, dressers, whatever you call it. So coming around here to the other side of this shelf, more cabinets over here, more storage. This is in Lily's half. She has low voltage lighting inside this. So we've got up at the top there, got actually Ethernet up there as well, just for fun, and more power for the low voltage transformer. So that'll feed the closet lighting. And that'll be lighting up here as well as for here. Dedicated power for ironing board. This is the washer and dryer area. So switches for the bedroom, closet area, and things like that. So washer and dryer has the water and drain vent for the dryer goes up and up to the roof. Big fat power for the dryer and little power for the washer. There's a fan up above there as well. I didn't know we needed that, but they did that. Got a sprinkler system for the washer and dryer as well. And then the mini split goes up there. So changing that filter is gonna be fun. It's definitely a small ladder climb. So we've got the power, drain, and 2 refrigerant lines for the mini split there. You might notice that there's this little weird hole down here. This is the second litter box location. So the washer and dryer are only gonna come out to about here or so, and we're gonna have shelving on the other half of this. And I was like, well, we don't need shelving all the way to the floor. We need shelving that's like, you know, down to about here. So all above is gonna be shelving, but then underneath that will be the litter box area. So the little cat door entrance from this side, and you'll come around into the bathroom to pull out the drawer to empty the litter box into the toilet, which is right there. So because this is a litter box, I've got another power and Ethernet inside the litter box area for camera or sensors or whatever. That's the bedroom, now a bathroom. So this is the ensuite bathroom. Coming in here, we first have the vanity. So plumbing for the sink, drain for the sink. This wire is going to go inside of a drawer, and I'll put like a power outlet inside the drawer so you can charge things inside the drawer instead of having them up on the counter taking up space. All the switches for the bathroom are here. There's the necessary power outlet above the sink there. And then another power line for power behind the mirror, because I want to do a lit mirror. Another power for the bathroom. And then we've got the tub, which that's the drain. Those are the 2 pipes for the tub. Shower in the corner. This one doesn't have a pan because it's going to get all built out as tile. The shower pipes are already in, so we've got the all the valves and everything here. We've got the low outlet for the like handle, and then we've got the upper one for like the shower head. Toilet is where the skeleton is sitting, and there is actually power back there. Yeah, there's power back there because it's for the bidet, which requires power. Underfloor heat. So we've got the power coming into this box, which then has these conduits, because I guess this is relatively high amp DC, I guess. I think it's DC when it's for underfloor heat, not actually sure. But they put these in conduits because it's scary, and then they come out there. So this will be the heating coil start and end will loop through from those wires. Above the bathroom door, again, we have the 2 Ethernets. So one for just a microcontroller that's going to be inside that box, and the other I'll be able to poke a sensor through the frame into that box. And I think that's it for the bathroom. Ceiling has 2 lights in this bathroom. So the light for this kind of entryway is the vanity, is the bathroom, or the mirror. And then the lights for the rest of the bathroom are those 2 cans. There's a fan up there, there's a sprinkler up here. This is where the attic access is. So that box that's labeled open, that's so that the drywall people don't drywall it over. We'll see if that works. Sometimes they just get carried away and do things. But this is the attic access. So, you know, we're not gonna have a ladder installed, but we'll be able to put a ladder in here over the toilet and then go climb into the attic if we ever need to. So there's power up in the attic for a, I guess he hasn't actually run this yet. The power is there, but there's gonna be a switch and a light inside there as well, so that you can see once you get up there. The attic is not going to be something we go into all the time because it is going to be full of insulation. Yeah, and now I'm realizing that one thing I asked them to do, which is not done yet, is add some blocking, add some wood, plywood, or at least 2x6s in various parts of this place so that there's more things to step on if we ever need to go up there, because these are like 24 inches apart in the ceiling, not 16 like you get in the walls. And I guess it's because you don't need to be 16 when they're built like this, but that means that 2 feet between steps, if you're trying to go across the ceiling that way, is a lot to step. So I'm gonna have them add some more pieces of wood up there so we have a little bit more things to walk on if we ever need to go up there. Okay, so that's the bathroom. Last room in here is the karaoke room. So back to this living room entrance, we have the bedroom there, then over here is the karaoke room. This is gonna get a secret bookcase door. I'm really excited about that. And this room is way overwired. I will just say that in advance. So technically this is not a bedroom because there's no closet, so it's not legally a bedroom. We could easily add a closet if we ever wanted to do that, but it's not legally a bedroom, it's just a bonus room. The plan is karaoke room, hangout room, extra movie room, or guest room if we want someone to sleep here. So there, it gets its own mini split because this has a lot of sun, so I figure it's gonna get hot in the summer. So it's its own mini split zone. And then this, because we have plywood here for the shear wall, this is where you can see all the wires a lot of them are feeding the living room side. So, you know, power for the TV, power and data for the Vesta board, the extra we ended up with down there. Good to know that there's an extra coax wire there if I ever wanted to run coax to the inside of this room there. It's just right on that side of that wall. So on this side, we have power in the middle of this wall, 2 Cat6 lines, and then coming around the corner, again, power, data, power, now we're even closer than 6 feet, power, 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 power over there, power, and then this is the main TV cluster. So for all the TV locations, we ended up with coax and then 3 Cat6. The theory is coax for the cable TV system. I'm not gonna have cable service, but I might actually do my own in-house cable network. And then data, 1 Cat6 for data, and then a spare one, and then the other Cat6 is for a video link. So video HDMI over Cat6. So it's basically data, video over Cat6, a spare one, and coax for every TV location. This wall gets 2 outlets, outlet there, and this is where the switches are for the room. It's really bright sun today. 1 switch is for the can lights, the other is for the rope lights. So again, we have a loose wire out of the wall, which is for the light that's gonna go all the way around the room. And then there's 2 cans in here. We've got sprinklers, and then I had them put ceiling outlets in here. So we actually have a lot of ceiling outlets. We have 1 a foot from that wall. We have 1 centered here, a foot from that wall. We have 1 centered in this wall, a foot from the wall. And that's just so that if we ever wanted to do like party lights or a projector or whatever, there's outlets on the ceiling. Oh, there's also one over here. Center of the room, again, is a microphone. So that's for the microphone system for the house. It's the black wires. This gets power shades as well because, again, I'm assuming it's going to get really hot in the summer and I'll be able to automatically drop the shades when the sun is up in the summer to prevent needing to run the AC as much. So both windows have the red coil. Why are there 2 there? There's only 1 there and there's 2 there. And both of those do get home runs because now there's 3 that go here. Fascinating. I wonder why. Now that's 2 windows to have that. Maybe it's, I don't know. Well, can't hurt to have extra wires. We'll find out. Ceiling, this was the old location for the attic access, which now is going to get boarded over because I was like, there's no way we can do anything if we go up there. Let's go up to the roof. So coming out of here, let's go up to the stairs. Flick on the light switches for the staircase lighting, for the stairwell, and go up here. So again, each step has its own low voltage wire for each tread. We've got, what's this? Oh, top step, low voltage wire. Here's the wire that comes out for the strip that's going to go here. And then we've got 2 more Cat 6 cables, light, sconce light for the stairwell. So here is where we start to get some of the fun stuff. These are going to be, I drew this open here, so again, hopefully the drywall people understand. This is a little nook for little, miniature scenes, little library or train station or whatever. And there's 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Each has a Cat 6 cable going into it, 2 Cat 6 cables going into it. Because again, if you're going to run 1, you might as well run 2. My plan for these is either it's low voltage lighting for the scene, or it's a, oh yeah, actually this is not 2 Cat 6, sorry. This is a 2 conductor, so that's low voltage for the lighting. This one's a Cat 6 for whatever, possibly for either, I could imagine like getting a little video screen as the background for it, feeding a video signal over this, and having that be like the background of the scene so it looks like it's even deeper than it is. Anyway, got some fun ideas. Be able to play around with that. Got the wires in there. They all run through here, along the bottom there, under there, and into a low voltage box. So this is the main electrical system for the house. The panel is here. Big fat wire comes in from the other side of the house up there, and this feeds everything. So this is the breaker panel. It's quite a cluster. We've got some data lines coming through. This low voltage box is actually going to do a lot of work. So it's where all the little book nook wires come in. But then there's also, I added a couple of these last minute because I was like, I want a few more cameras on the roof. And I didn't want to run them all the way down to the network closet downstairs. So I terminated them here. So there's one of these is coming from the network room. And then several of these go out to the roof. So here's one that goes to the hot tub area. Here's one that goes to a camera on the outside wall. There's another one, another outside wall camera as well. And then we've got a power jack in there. So there's going to be a network switch that's PoE powered that also has PoE out for the cameras. There's going to be whatever I need for the transformer or video stuff for the book nook. The main thing in here is going to be a box that actually, this conduit goes into the panel, and this is where we're going to feed, this is for this monitoring system. So there's these monitoring little loops are going to get wrapped around each wire inside the panel, fed through that conduit into here and connected into this controller box that's going to live in here. And that way we can actually monitor the power usage of every single circuit in the house. I'm so excited to be able to do that. Always wanted to do that. And that system, it's like a local device, not a cloud system. So it's all just stays in the network. So I'm super excited for that. Live power monitoring of every single circuit. That's great. The other power things that you can see here, these are the big fat power lines for the hot tub. So this is the one going in. There's a shut-off breaker, and then it actually has 2 coming out for the hot tub. I think one's for the pumps, one's for the heater or something like that. There's this orange wire is a, I think it might be more than 20 amps actually. It's for the heater. So there's a box here which will have a timer switch, you crank it and set a 20-minute timer or whatever, and that will turn on the roof heater, which is going to be a high power infrared heater. So that's there. I guess we just had to have a power outlet there. It seems like a weird spot for one. And then the other, up in the roof, we've got the light for the stairs, and there's actually this, they didn't bring the other box. We changed this at the last second because of the staircase design, but there's gonna be another light over the entryway here. They just haven't put the can in for it. I think that's a smoke detector again, and then sprinkler system for the roof. Because this is a door, we've got our 2 doors, so I need to go and drill this in now and mount the sensor in the door frame, connect into that box, and then there's an extra Cat 6 up there. There's going to be a cabinet up in this space, and there's a power and data, actually 3 things. There's 2, okay, that's the loose one. So there's Cat 6 that goes down to the server closet. There's coax that goes down to the server closet. This has a big coil of it because that's actually meant to be on the roof. So the idea is to mount the actual TV antenna on the roof here. So I will be able to get things through here up to the exterior roof somehow later to be able to mount equipment up there. One of the things I'm going to do is put an antenna on the roof, which will actually run all the way down into the server closet. But then this data is to be able to run gear up here, like radio antennas on the roof or whatever that needs an internet connection. And then let's go to the actual roof. So, on the actual roof, we had to move the switches to the outside because we're going to have these slats here. So the roof switches are actually outside, and these control just the outside stuff. So it's like, actually one's the inside. One is the stairwell switch, one and two are the roof systems. One is the can lights, one is the rope light that goes around. This wall is for the TV. So we've got power outlet down there, but this is where the TV box is going to go. It has its own power, and then we've got, again, our coax, data Cat6, video Cat6, and a spare one up here. I'm glad we have the spare one because I already am using it, which is going to be, there's going to be another part of the video intercom system will be up in here. Also on the roof, I guess we have our sprinkler system. Don't know why doesn't have a sprinkler head on it, but we'll fix that later. And then we have a couple of interesting things. So that one is for a camera. This one is low voltage. I think that's for an access point. I'm not 100% sure now what that one was for. I think it's for the access point. We have our 4 can lights. 1, 2, 3, 4. That middle one is the black wire for the microphone for the roof. Another camera on that corner, and then that one's just a power outlet. That one's just a power outlet, and then that one is the the power outlet's on a switch for the heater. They put this panel on sooner than I thought, and there are also speaker wires up there somewhere, and I can't remember where they are anymore. So I hope the low voltage guy remembers. I think they're between the two lights. So I'm guessing it's kind of where that red line is. I'm not 100% sure, and I wish I made this video before they put that paneling up. But it's not all too late because where that X is, there's actually supposed to be an access panel to get up into the roof. Because the other thing that's in there, which again I can't show you except I can show you the other side of it. If you look up there, there's power and water. And that's for the pump that's going to live inside the roof for the misting system. So I need to be able to actually get that pump in there. So my plan was to have an access panel here, pop that open, go up in there, set the pump in there, plug it in, wire it to the water, and then that, I guess, I had to think about the water out, but I guess I'll just punch a hole in the corner or something for the hose that comes out and then run the water pipes around this space somewhere for the misting system. Now I'm wondering if I should have done that like hard wired in. Oh well. Too late now. Dumbwaiter shaft. This is the top of the dumbwaiter shaft. There's the little mechanics for it. The motor is up there. You can see what I mean by that. They have to come finished because those wires are just loose, but those are going to run all the way down. That wire is for a light for inside this in case they need it for servicing. The top one is the access panel. The bottom one is the access panel for the dumbwaiter to actually take the drawer out. The hot tub will eventually live in the corner there. All the mechanical for the hot tub is over here. I can't unfortunately show you underneath that because it's all like super taped down, stapled down. But there's the high capacity power for the pump and heater. And then I added an extra regular 120 outlet for miscellaneous stuff that goes inside the mechanical space. There is also a data jack behind there that you can't see. There's a coax or Cat6. Over here is for the eventually for like a cooktop, like a stove, barbecue or whatever. So there's a 20 amp circuit there. That's the panel for the hot tub cutoff. I guess the breaker is actually probably in there now. Yeah, actually got the 250 amp breakers. Power up there, which is actually switched. So that's on one of the switches. That's for the Christmas light, rope light situation. And then there's a Cat6 for another camera out here. And then we've got our water for the roof. Shower head, valve, and then just an extra faucet. So we have an outdoor shower for when you want to rinse off before or after the hot tub. Oh, I guess I can't, not quite. I can't really show you this, but you can kind of see behind this. There's a power outlet here, so the bench seating will kind of stop here. Power outlet here, which goes down and is just tied up loose there because there's going to be benches. And that power will feed outlets under the benches. And then this is where you can see one of the Cat 6 I added, which is, this goes into that low voltage box in the roof. That's for outside camera for the outside there. If I look over this wall, you'll see why I want a camera up here, because it's going to look so cool to be able to have this view of the yard. So that's the plan for that camera. And okay, now we're done. Now we did it. I hope that was everything. There's only a couple of loose ends to tie up. So I hope I'm able to get the last pictures before they actually start putting in the insulation. But otherwise, this has been the complete walkthrough of the rough-in wiring, plumbing, ventilation, low voltage, high voltage, drainage, switches, data, excessive data, everything for this unit. Now we'll just go back down to the entryway where we started, and we made it. I think that's it. It's a long way up. I hope I don't have to do maintenance on the shades ever. It's funny, you can see the panel from down here. We'll have to cover it up and make it look nice. Did I show you the outlet that's down here? There's an outlet in the entryway over here, as well as actually one back here. There it is. And that's because, you know, we might have electric bikes in here that we want to charge, so. Okay, now we're done. Now we're done. Congrats, that was a lot of walking through. I'm going to take a short break and get some water because I've been going for 72 minutes straight. But we're not done yet because now we need to go check out the other 2 units. Those are less involved, so they should be a lot faster, but I still want to make sure we cover those. So I will see you over at Unit A shortly.